Hello, and welcome to Technology News for October 14, 2013. New York, AP. Microsoft is updating its Windows software for cell phones to accommodate larger devices and make it easier for motorists to reduce distractions while driving. It's the third update to Windows Phone 8 software since the system's release a year ago. Devices with this update will start appearing in the coming weeks, and older phones will be eligible for a free upgrade, too. Something that may appeal to motorists, a new driving mode will automatically silence incoming calls and texts so that you can focus on the road. You also can configure the feature to automatically send out a reply to say that you are driving. It can be activated automatically when the phone is linked wirelessly with the Bluetooth device in the car, such as a headset. Apple has a Do Not Disturb feature for iPhones, but that needs to be turned on manually. What the driving mode won't do, however, is block outgoing calls or texts. And there will be ways to override it. The feature won't stop a teenager from texting while driving, but it will help reduce distractions for those who want that, says Greg Sullivan, director for Microsoft's Windows Phone business. The new update also will allow for better resolution to accommodate larger phones. Currently, the system supports a maximum resolution of 1280 pixels by 768 pixels, which is adequate for phones with screens no larger than 5 inches on the diagonal. But video and image quality degrades when stretched out on larger phones, such as a 6.3-inch Android phone from Samsung Electronics Company. The layout for larger phones also will change. Phones may now sport a third column of tiles, for instance. Contact lists and other features will be able to fit in more information. That's a contrast to Android, where text and images simply get bigger with larger screens, without actually fitting in more content. Microsoft's Windows Phone software holds a distant third place behind Apple's iOS and Google's Android, with a worldwide market share of 3.7% in the second quarter, according to research firm IG. But shipments of Windows Phone devices grew 78% to 8.7 million in the April to June period, compared with the same time a year ago. The tile-based layout in Windows Phone is the inspiration for the Windows 8 software powering tablets and personal computers. There are a few ways Microsoft Corporation will catch up to the iPhone and Android phones with the new update. For the first time, Windows phones will have a rotation lock function, so that the screen won't switch back and forth between horizontal and vertical mode while you're curled up in bed. There also will be a central way to close open apps. Before, you had to go into each open app and press and hold the back button. And Microsoft is launching a program to give app developers early access to their new software. Apple has had a similar program for the iOS software behind iPhones and iPads, while Google often has worked with selected developers on unreleased features. In other news, New York, AP. At your neighborhood coffee shop, you can order your beverage in small, medium or large. Now, you can do that with phones, too. HTC Corporation is introducing a larger version of its popular HTC One phone, becoming the latest phone maker to offer its flagship device in 3 sizes, and, of course, 3 prices. The new HTC One Max has one feature unavailable on the smaller models, a fingerprint identification sensor similar to that on Apple's new iPhone 5s. It's an optional way to unlock a phone without using a 4-digit passcode. Unlike Apple's version, however, the Max can be programmed to automatically open one of 3 favorite apps, depending on which finger is used. HTC spokesman Tom Harlan said the company designed the Max with a fingerprint sensor to make the larger device easier to operate with one hand. Engineers also moved the power button to the side. On smaller models, it's on top of the phone, when held vertically. The Max has a screen that measures 5.9 inches diagonally. That compares with the 4.7 inches on the standard version and the 4.3 inches on the HTC One Mini. HTC is designing its software to take advantage of the larger screen. With many Android phones, images and text simply get larger on bigger phones. With the Max, the layout of selected apps is reformatted to fit more content. The Max also has more battery capacity than the smaller models, but otherwise shares their design and hardware features. Like the other ones, the Max has a camera that can capture better low-light shots than the typical smartphone camera, but images are of lower resolution, at 4 megapixels. The Max weighs 7.7 ounces, which is more than the 5.9 ounces for Samsung's 5.7-inch Galaxy Note 3. The price hasn't been announced, but it likely will be comparable to the $300 for the Note 3 and Motorola's Droid Max. That price typically requires a 2-year service agreement and is $100 more than the regular HTC One, Samsung's Galaxy S4 and Motorola's Droid Ultra when they launched. Many versions of the One and the Droid go for $100 with a contract. The S4 Mini is currently available only overseas. Harlan said HTC is offering variety to meet consumers' differing needs. Some might prefer a small device that is cheap and can fit in the pocket of skinny jeans, while others might want more screen space. As for the fingerprint sensor, HTC is including similar security safeguards found in the iPhone 5s. A mathematical representation of the fingerprint is stored on the phone in a secured location, inaccessible to other apps or remote servers. However, HTC does plan to eventually offer a way for other apps to use the ID system, without accessing the fingerprint data directly. Apple has no current plans for third-party access. Despite assurances of security from Apple, a German hacking group claims to have bypassed the system using a household printer and some wood glue to create an artificial copy of a genuine fingerprint. Apple hasn't commented on that. HTC said Verizon and Sprint Corporation will sell the HTC One Max in the U.S. in time for the holidays. AT&T Incorporated has been offering the Mini since August. All 4 national carriers, including T-Mobile US Incorporated, have the standard version. In other news, Toronto, AP. BlackBerry is publishing an open letter in major publications around the world in a bid to reassure customers that they can count on the distressed smartphone company. The letter was released Monday on Twitter and will be published in 30 publications in 9 countries Tuesday. It acknowledges these are no doubt challenging times for us and we don't underestimate the situation, but says you can continue to count on BlackBerry. The missive notes that BlackBerry has substantial cash and is debt-free. But it makes no mention of the fact that the company is for sale and could be broken up and sold in pieces. BlackBerry announced last month that Fairfax Financial Holdings, which owns 10% of the company, signed a letter of intent that contemplates buying BlackBerry for $9 a share, or $4.7 billion. Fairfax, BlackBerry's largest shareholder, is trying to attract other investors. The stock is trading well below Fairfax's tentative offer on fears that the deal won't go through or that the final price will be lower. BlackBerry Limited's U.S. traded shares closed up 7 cents to $8.14 Monday. We're getting a lot of queries and interest from loyal consumers, from all of our enterprise customers and big government institutions, Andrew McLeod, BlackBerry's regional managing director for North America, said in an interview. McLeod said it's important to communicate with customers while the company goes through a difficult restructuring. He declined to comment on the sale process because a special committee of board members is examining that. The BlackBerry, introduced in 1999, was once the dominant smartphone for on-the-go business people and other consumers. But the advent of a new generation of competing touchscreen smartphones, starting with Apple's iPhone in 2007, made the BlackBerry look ancient. The company's sales and market share shrank and it lost billions in market value. This year's much-delayed launch of BlackBerry 10 system and fancier devices that use the software was supposed to rejuvenate the brand and lure customers. It did not work. Waterloo, Ontario-based BlackBerry recently announced 4,500 layoffs, or 40% of its global workforce, and reported a quarterly loss of nearly $1 billion. Candidly, we haven't seen the level of the traction in certain markets that we had hoped, McLeod said. It takes time for new platforms to get traction and we think we need to give BlackBerry 10 more time in the marketplace in order to get to the level of volume that we had hoped. The letter says BlackBerry continues to offer the best mobile typing experience, no ifs, ands or buts about it. It also acknowledges there is a lot of competition out there and we know that BlackBerry is not for everyone. In other news, Los Angeles, AP. I've been looking around for a while for a way to wire up my home for sound, without all the wires. I hadn't been satisfied with the options, partly because of the high prices. Then I met Sonos Play 1. The little brother to the wireless speaker companies Play 3 and Play 5 speakers packs a big sound in a small package. And thanks to its littler price tag and a new promotion that lasts through the end of the year, you can now hook up a room in stereo sound for just under $400. Sonos is ranked third behind Bose and Jawbone in the U.S. wireless speaker market, which represents about 8% of the $8.4 billion annual market for audio equipment including headphones, according to research firm NPD Group. But Sonos offers a sound system that other manufacturers such as Samsung and Bose are only starting to imitate. Sonos streams music over the internet, or from your computer, using your home's Wi-Fi network. After plugging in its bridge adapter to your router, you can then plug in as many speakers as you want to power outlets throughout your home, and they are all linked wirelessly. Pairing two speakers in one room creates a stereo effect and you can listen to different things in different rooms. Each speaker is both a Wi-Fi receiver and transmitter, creating a mesh network that allows even owners of large homes to place speakers into every nook and cranny far from the central hub. All of this is controllable from an app on your mobile phone, tablet or computer. The Play 1, which launches Monday, has heft like a big pickle jar and weighs 4 pounds and 8 pence. That's about 1.5 pounds lighter than the Play 3, which is more a bread loaf size, and 5 pounds lighter than the Play 5, which is about as big as a bread box. The Play 1's compact body fits snugly on top of a counter or bookshelf and gives off a very large and well-defined sound with plenty of bass and crisp-sounding high notes. The Play 1 costs $199, the Play 3 costs $299 and the Play 5 costs $399. The company is throwing in the $49 bridge for free during its promotional push, so the entry-level price of outfitting a room with 2 speakers and stereo sound has fallen to $400 from what would have been $650. To me, that's a big deal. NPD analyst Ben Arnold says the price cut is smart because it brings Sonos entry-level product closer to the price of fast-selling Bluetooth-enabled portable wireless speakers, such as No. 2 maker Jawbone's Mini Jam Box, which retails for $180. Other wireless speakers that connect to mobile devices using Bluetooth like the HDMX Jam sell for as little as $32. The premium end of the market is still growing but people are just buying these speakers up like crazy. Why not tap into this very active part of the market and pull more people in? He said. I found that it was super easy to install 2 Play 1 devices and the bridge. I didn't need the manual. After downloading the free app, I was walked through the process, pushing a button on each device as I was prompted, and letting the software figure it out. Each speaker has only 2 buttons, one for play/pause and a volume toggle, so it's hard to screw up. I played music from Pandora and Radio, both streaming music services that interact well with the Sonos app. Even at half the possible volume, I reached what I consider louder than party level in a roughly 700 square foot space. Santa Barbara, California-based Sonos Incorporated has its speakers installed in more than 1 million homes and has approximately doubled its revenue in the last year, according to CEO John McFarlane. The latest device is designed to be a no-regrets, first-try entry, he said. I'd say the company resoundingly succeeded with a speaker that far outpunches its size. In other news, Ann Arbor, Mich. AP. Ford Motor Company and the University of Michigan are opening a new battery research and manufacturing lab that they hope will speed the development of batteries for electric and hybrid cars. The center, on the university's campus in Ann Arbor, will bring together battery makers, car companies and researchers who will test new batteries for prototype vehicles. Ted Miller, who manages battery research at Ford, said the lab will be unique in the US. He said that labs currently testing new battery chemistries can produce them in the amounts or formats needed for automotive research. And battery companies aren't always sure that what they're developing could be useful to the automotive industry. Ford and other automakers all have labs where they test batteries for durability and quality, Miller said. But that's happening very late in the battery development process. The new lab could ensure that automakers' input is heard earlier. Electric cars have been slow sellers, making up less than 1% of U.S. auto sales last year. Gas-electric hybrids and plug-in hybrids, which can go further on electricity, sell in larger numbers, but still make up just 3% of sales. That's partly because the batteries in those cars can add thousands of dollars to their price tags. Battery costs are expected to fall over the next decade, as new materials are discovered and production increases. The new lab could accelerate that. There's a lot of hunger for this, Miller told media last week at Ford's battery research facility near its headquarters in Dearborn. He said the lab should be able to start making batteries early next year. The $8 million center received a $5 million grant from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, a public-private agency, and $900,000 from the university. Ford contributed $2.1 million, but Miller said other automakers have already asked about doing research there. This is open innovation, said Mark Bardo, a professor of advanced energy research and director of Michigan's Energy Institute. I believe that cooperation between university researchers and industry is essential to create advances that have real-world impact. Next story. Jerusalem, AP. Facebook says it is acquiring an Israeli mobile technology startup and opening its first office in Israel. Facebook said in a statement Monday that Israeli mobile utility application developer Anavo would help the social media giant create better mobile products and help connect more people around the world to the internet. Anavo was founded 3 years ago and produces technology that compresses content so mobile users can use more data. The Tel Aviv-based company also has an office in California. Israeli media reported that Facebook is buying the company for more than $100 million and that it was Facebook's largest acquisition of an Israeli company. Facebook declined comment. Facebook has bought 2 Israeli companies in recent years, but employees were transferred to Facebook's U.S. headquarters. In other news, San Jose, California, AP. Analog Devices Incorporated is selling its microphone business to InvenSense Incorporated for $100 million, saying that will help it better focus on businesses in other markets. The microphone division represents less than 1% of the Norwood, Mass. Chipmakers expected revenue for the quarter ending on November 2nd, it said Monday. InvenSense, which makes motion tracking technology for consumer electronic devices, such as smartphones and game controllers, said the deal expands its audio business and complements some of its products for mobile, gaming and wearable device customers. The San Jose, California, company said that other than one-time costs, the transaction is not expected to significantly affect its results for the fiscal year ending in March. It expects the acquisition to add to its earnings in subsequent years. The board of directors of each company has approved the deal, which is expected to close this month. Shares of InvenSense fell 22 cents to close at $20.10 Monday. Analog Device shares added 29 cents to close at $47.27 but fell 9 cents after hours to $47.18. Next story. Gravity isn't leaving orbit. The Warner Brothers astronaut adventure starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney landed in the top spot at the box office for the second weekend in a row, earning $43.2 million and raising its domestic total to $122.3 million. Sony's pirate drama, Captain Phillips, starring Tom Hanks, launched in second place with a $25.7 million. The animated Sony movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, rolled into third place in its third weekend with $13.7 million, bringing its domestic haul to $77.6 million. The weekend's only other new wide release, the gun-filled sequel, Machete Kills, opened in fourth place with $3.8 million. Next story. Los Angeles, AP. As a kid, Randy Moore was haunted by Disney World, where he made an annual trip during summers with his dad. So as an adult, and a filmmaker, Moore wanted to capture and question the allure of such manufactured fantasy. The result is Escape from Tomorrow, which was shot guerrilla style at Disneyland and Disney World without permission from the famously proprietary Walt Disney Company, and which has actually made it to the screen. I was pretty confident that Disney wasn't about to go out of their way and give me permission, Moore said, so I didn't ask them for it. The writer-director insists there was no other way to tell his story of a frustrated family man who begins losing his grip on reality during a trip to Disney World. So Moore and his crew bought season passes to Disneyland in Anaheim, California, and Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and used handheld digital cameras to shoot scenes and tiny digital audio recorders to capture sound. They repeatedly rode It's a Small World and other trademark Disney attractions to film from various perspectives, just like any other theatrical feature. Escape from Tomorrow, available on video on demand and in select theaters Friday, first premiered at the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year. The black and white indie film quickly built a buzz based on its surreptitious shooting style and dark take on Disney, including the movie's poster with what looks to be Mickey Mouse's oversized hand covered in blood. The film also picked up its share of skepticism that it would ever be released. Representatives from Disney, which has a history of aggressively protecting its image, brands and intellectual property, did not respond to requests for comment for this story. The company also hasn't spoken to Moore or the film's distributor. "We've had no contact with Disney at all whatsoever," Moore said. But if anyone from the Mouse House, as it is known in the industry, did contact him, he wouldn't be afraid. "I would ask them if they liked it or what they thought about it," he said. The director was afraid, however, during the crew's secret filming outings at Disneyland and Disney World, but not because they were filming illegally. "What I was worried about was letting down my cast and crew, who had come on this ride with me," he said. "As a first-time director, I think the hardest thing is getting everyone to see your vision and believe in it and want to help you to achieve that." He never intended to make a guerrilla film, he said. The style of the film came from the story, and there was no other way we could make it. "I hope to God the next thing I do doesn't require this same style. It's traumatizing." Yet for Moore, again, it's not about copyright violations and the wrath of Disney, but rather the time limits inherent in such shooting. "We believe that the film fell under the fair use doctrine as a parody of An Idyllic Day at Disney World. Branding is so much a part of our culture, and it's everywhere. And Disney is everywhere. They're so ubiquitous, you can't get away from them even if you tried. To not be able to comment or critique or parody that ubiquity, I just think it's morally unacceptable." This is the end of Technology News Stories. Thank you for listening.